operators, and I know there was a great question in our Slack about operators and if they're like infrastructure as code. And you
Yeah,
had an awesome
yeah.
answer on that. Can we try and recreate that magic,
Let me
maybe?
try to recreate that magic. Yeah. All right. So I think the way, I think about that question is, I think there's a lot of these terms in our industry, infrastructure as code and DevOps and GitOps and all those sorts of things, which, uh, they easily go from like whatever the original intention was, trying to be captured in this like pithy 3-word thing, to some complete, like completely different interpretation of it, where, um, you know you may be doing infrastructure that's technically code, but all the benefits of infrastructure as code is not really there, right? And I think a lot of these, you know cloud native infrastructure as code, all these things are, uh, they come with like practices and ways of doing things that's meant to make your life easier, where if you only just do the like what it says on paper of like, yes, my infrastructure is technically code, but then, uh, you you don't update your infrastructure for like 6 months, then you're defeated, and then it defeats the purpose, right? So, let me give like one bullet that, was there, is kind of like the whole idea of code and software. It's called software because it's, you can change it, and what we can do with code is change it constantly, run it constantly. Whereas if it's a human process, that's toilsome. Like, you can't just keep doing the same repetitive thing over and over again. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to take a lot longer.
Go
So
crazy.
you
Yeah.
go crazy, right? So, the whole idea of infrastructure as code is to think about all the infrastructure you need for your application or your suite of applications, your whole product portfolio, all the infrastructure you need, from the networking to the compute layers and data services and all that. Encapsulate the desired state for that in code, or maybe declarative codes like YAML. We can debate whether YAML is code or not, but make it so that it's something a machine can execute. It's something that a machine can inspect, and it's something that you can run like every minute. Who cares, right? Like, just run it all the time. It should be idempotent, and when you make an incremental change, you should be able to, see the impact of that incremental change. If you have something like Terraform Plan and you're using a tool like Terraform, you can see what that's going to be, and then you can, if it's a dev environment, have that just go through. If it's a prod environment, maybe your build should stop and show you what that output was, and somebody clicks a button and says, yeah, push it to prod, right? But the idea is like the code is making the changes, uh, to your infrastructure, and it's all captured in code, so you get all the benefits of something being in code. Especially if you have it in Git, then you can see who made the change, why did they make the change, when did they make a change. You can control who has permissions to make changes. You can even go from staging to prod with like branch promotion. There's kind of like, patterns with Git that you can apply to, you know uh, kind of simulate, if you will, these processes that you have in your actual environments. So that, I think that's what, infrastructure as code is about. It is
Mm.
about letting code and machines, uh, do your infrastructure management, so that it can be done, continuously and toil free in kind of a low risk way. And operators, I think, are just a piece of that, right? So I think in your whole stack, you might have Terraform to set up your, you know, your VPCs and your K8s clusters, let's say, and then you've got a bunch of, operators to, stamp down all your, uh, let's call it like middleware or data tier infrastructure, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So you might be using, a bunch of, declarative, YAML, Kubernetes YAML to declare the kinds of, Kafka clusters you want, and the operator will just make it so, right? So I think it goes together with like pipelines and things like operators, which automatically execute your desired state.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I like the way that you break that down for us.